Bizarre Brain Comics. Oh, hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I am Gary, your host, and this is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. Well, this time I've selected another more or less random batch of comics from one of my boxes out in the garage. I think some we may have seen before, at least a couple. I know we have, but we'll show it again anyway. Okay, and we're starting off with JLA Earth 2, written by Grant Morrison with art by Frank Quitely. This is some interesting stuff. You know, and I was looking through this, and I don't think I have ever finished reading this, so I'm going to have to set it aside and read it in its entirety. And of course, this is the front cover and the back cover, all part of the same image. You can see, and this has got, of course, we see the Trinity: Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, but we see here they're evil doppelgangers from now Earth 2. Of course, this is after Crisis on Infinite Earths, in which Earths 1 and 2 were combined. Earth 3 and all the other Earths were pretty much destroyed. And so they were kind of gradually bringing back the multiverse. So in this case, what used to be Earth 3 is now Earth 2, with the Owl, Ultraman, and Zarda. I think she was Zarda. She was an Amazonian type. And then, of course, let me see the back. What was this? He called Johnny Quick. I can't remember. And Dr. Spectrum for her. Is that right? Equivalent of the Green Lantern and equivalent of the Flash. They didn't have an equivalent for Aquaman and Martian Manhunter. But and of course they are part of the crime syndicate. And on that Earth, the superheroes are all supervillains, and there are no superheroes. The closest to being a superhero on that Earth is surprisingly Alex Luthor. And so, as I said, I don't think I ever read this entire thing. That's some real nice artwork, bizarre stuff. Ultraman. I've always liked the crime syndicate. I thought they were cool. I mean, for villains, virtually the exact opposite of the heroes of the Justice League. And I especially liked Owl, or Owlman. I've forgotten how he was named. So that's cool. It's a whole graphic novel. Scottish. Yeah, Frank Quitely, Scottish. Okay, that's it for that one. Then we have, and this is from the year 2000, so I think I mentioned that. Then here from 94, I think it was 1994, from Fiasco Comics, Don Simpson's Bizarre Heroes. I did an episode on a different issue of Bizarre Heroes, but this is stuff I love. I love the Bizarre Heroes, the tongue-in-cheek parody of mainstream superheroes, and the beautiful art by Don Simpson. And is he still around? Is he still doing stuff? I don't know. I haven't noticed or seen anything, because these independent aren't nearly as many this type of independent material out there anymore. But as you can see here, I just love his artwork. And I know he did some work on some mainstream. I know he did some Archie, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff for Archie. as well as doing some naughty stuff for Eros. And here's something out of left field. Roger Rabbit, number 5. This is from 1990. And of course, they had a short-lived, and I thought I had more issues, but I think this is the only issue I currently have of this run. And this was, of course, Walt Disney. And does it say? No. It just says Disney, but it doesn't matter. But of course, this is just a couple years after the success of the groundbreaking movie of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And I did an episode on the graphic novel adaptation of the movie. This is a little different. It's sometime after that, but instead of Eddie Valiant in this run, because Roger Rabbit has taken up being a private detective. So this is because who's afraid of the big bad wolf? And of course, the big bad wolf. Who else would he be after but Red Riding Hood, Red Jessica Rabbit? And but instead of Eddie Valiant, he's latched on to guy named Rick. I didn't catch his last name. And different artwork. The graphic novel was done by Dan Spiegel. His art, but this is no credits. I saw it someplace, but it's completely different. A regular mainstream comic, who is versatile enough to do the realistic stuff and the highly stylized Disney type cartoon stuff, and that's some fun. And here's something you've probably never seen. Chances are it says Nibiru number 1, and I can't make out what it says here. Fat Cat Funnies. This is by Pat Broderick and Rob Epps. This is conceived, written, and drawn by Pat Broderick, artist who has a long time run on at DC, most particularly Captain Atom, and said Nibiru and the Legend of the Anunnaki. And this is and here, see, I got this. I don't know how well distributed this ever got, but I bought this at a convention from Pat Broderick, and he signed it right here. And this is tied in with the what I suddenly cannot think of his name. I wrote the 12th Planet. Anyway, I can't remember his name. This is tied into that, like the 12th Planet. I come so close. The Z, he's dead now. But he wrote all this ancient astronaut type stuff for a long time, and I'm not sure whether Pat Broderick actually believes in the stuff or if he's just using it as a foundation for his fantasy stuff. And it's some really nice artwork, but it's wrong right off the bat. It says 400 billion years ago. There was no 400 billion years ago, because the universe isn't that old, or at least this iteration of the universe is not that old. But you see here, the whole thing is then done sideways, and some beautiful stuff, really beautiful artwork. Oh, it looks like a Klingon bird of prey. Some nice stuff, but that's all I got. It was just that one issue, and that's just basically an introduction. That's Heidenberg. Well, it'll come to me later when I don't need it. Then, of course, we have from Kitchen Sink Press, The Spirit, number 66, by Will Eisner, of course, reprinting all of this, reprinting The Spirit from the 40s, and some really great stuff by Will Eisner. And of course, it's the Spirit taking off a Spirit mask, and then a gunman right behind him, also wearing a Spirit mask. It just adds for more. Spirit casebook. I think that's what I've got. The Spirit is 50. Well, he's a lot older than that now, because this book is like 30 years old. This is 89, so yeah, it's 36 years old. So then we have from DC, issue number 1 of The Crusaders from Impact Comics, which was, of course, a DC imprint in which they licensed the Archie superhero characters, the Shield, Jaguar, and I did that whole series of their annuals, and showed and talked about these before. The Comet, the Web, the Fly, Black Hood, and I really like those characters. I like the bunch. I like them from Archie / Red Circle, and I liked them when they were done here, and they've been popped up again at Archie, and DC had another run at them some years ago, which I never got a chance to get into. This is from, I think, 94? 92, Blast from the Past. Starts off with some older heroes, and then graduates to these newer incarnation of heroes. And look right here inside. It's character trading cards. That's the fun. Then we have issue number 3 of The Crusaders. The Crusaders, and a special surprise guest star, Times Square Terror. I'm not going to take that out of the bag. And then I've covered the Fly before, different versions, and then here is the Fly number 2. Chromium strikes, and he's out for blood. That's some cool stuff. And then here's one. I want to hold this back and read it as well. I may not do an episode on it, but the first big 64-page Impact Winter Special, and this has got stories, individual stories featuring all of those great Archie characters. I don't know why they didn't have Steel Sterling amongst those. But then here, I know I've shown these before, but I'll show them again. 2 different graphic novels, Elseworld graphic novels from DC. I think it's from the 90s or so. This first one is Superman is Cal, written by Dave Gibbons, with great art by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. Great painted cover right there. And this is basically what if Kal-El had come to Earth during the medieval period. And that's telling that story. Some nice artwork. I think they did a lot of research for the appearances, for like the architecture and the costuming and the like. And then we'll finish this up with this other Superman graphic novel. It's Superman: Blood of My Ancestors, with pencil art by Gil Kane and John Buscema. Gil Kane did the first part, Buscema did the second part, and then Kevin Nolan did the inks of the entire project. And aside from when they had the crossover, Spider-Man, Superman crossover, and John Buscema drew one of those, to my knowledge, this is the only other time he has done the DC superheroes for publication. And even then, it's more like Conan the Barbarian, because it's a flashback to a more primitive barbaric age on the planet Krypton, and this is involving a character who is an ancestor of Kal-El. You can see right here, Gil Kane on this page, John Buscema on this page, and it's so much more like his Conan the Barbarian. So stuff, and that was so great. Except here, it's related to Superman, and then of course it ends up with because it has a framing sequence, and then it goes back to the main Superman story that was being involved here. So that looks good. I haven't read that in years, and it still looks fun. So I want to thank you for joining me. And please, where is it? There it is. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave your comments down below. Which of these books sounds interesting to you? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, comics are art.